Well, welcome everyone. I am joined today by Marine Corps veteran and author Ted McLyman. Ted, how are you?
Kurt, it is a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Absolutely. So Ted just came out with his brand new book, Discover Your Money Temperament, a common sense guide to financial security. And to say that the timing couldn't be any better, I think would be an understatement.
Oh gosh, yeah. This book was written for times like this. The idea for the book, as a matter of fact, I'll grab a copy. There's one in the background. Really came together after the 2008-2009 meltdown, which was a behavioral meltdown. I started thinking about this new book because we had about a 10-year run where everybody was brilliant and everybody was just doing wonderful things with their money, and I knew it couldn't last forever. So I wanted to get the book out at the first of the year. I knew we'd have a correction, but not my wildest imagination did I think we'd get smacked in the face by a black swan.
A black swan indeed. That's exactly what it is. And as I said, I think the timing of all this is perfect. And so money temperament, that can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. But for the context of your book, what is money temperament?
Well, I've been in the money business for years. I've taught economics at Naval Academy, major universities, financial advisor for a number of years. I've talked about this. I'm a keynote speaker at financial literacy conferences and things like this. And really after 2008, I got incredibly frustrated with the financial literacy industry that talks about tools and techniques almost exclusively, and the financial services industry, which tends to be more concerned about product than people. And it became obvious to me that we needed to change the discussion, not only about financial literacy, but how we attack the problem solving with money. You do this in your practice, you do it very, very well. But we needed to start up front isolating the basic behavior people have with money, how they think and feel about money. And it's a function of their belief set, their culture, and their biology. And it's who we are with money. And after a number of iterations and a couple of books, it became very obvious to me that it was time to do this again, that we needed to get out there and say, money is about managing behavior. Success is about understanding your money temperament, which is how you naturally think and feel about money, then managing your behavior. In most cases, with a good accountability coach who knows what they're doing and knows you, and then manage your money.
So why is it, in your opinion, why does the financial services industry just struggle so mightily with this concept?
Well, I think there's a historical pattern. And a lot of the people that gravitate to the industry tend to be more digital money, numbers type of people. I've been to due diligence meetings, and that due diligence meetings where you sit with a bunch of experts in a room and they talk about products and trends and all that stuff, and they can make your head explode. Some of these people literally should not be let out in public because they're going to scare the clients. And we tend to move in that direction. We tend to flock together. I get into this stuff, you've got all the certifications, you've got them above and beyond than most people. So there's a tendency to think, well, let me make it real simple. We are also biased. Our bias come forward in the way we look at the industry, the way we present information, and the way we make recommendations to our clients. And our non-conscious bias tends to reflect how we naturally feel and think about money, not necessarily the way your client feels and thinks about money. So I think that's the biggest thing.
And I think this book does a great job, making that connection between the lack of understanding with the industry and really what's driving the thought process as human beings, right? Yeah, and so, if I'm watching this video and I'm thinking about, okay, well, how do I even go about figuring out my money temperament? Of course, they need to pick up a copy of your book, but it's a little bit more than that too, right? They've got to do a lot of self-reflection and figure out what they really want.
Exactly. I think maybe one of the biggest mistakes I made with this book is putting money in the title. Because just by putting money in the title, people look at it and immediately turns some people off and some readers. They think this is going to be an economics book or a technical book, and it's not. I don't think I talk about money or product or anywhere in the book. If I had to define this book, this is a leadership book. This is a book about personal leadership, to understand what's important about money to you. More importantly, what's important about life to you. And what are you going to do for personal leadership to get everything pointed in the right direction and be accountable and responsible for your own decisions, not only what you do, how you do choose, but what you fail to do. And then it's broader leadership. I think it's professional leadership to make sure you're instilling these same ideas in the organizations you work with, the private and the businesses you're working with, that leadership is about achieving something that's important to you. That's a value set. Then what we do in the book is show you how to do that, but then apply a cost factor to it, if that makes sense.
It does. And so, as you know, give the viewers just a little bit of insight, if you can. You know, what can they expect? You know, when they buy your book and they take everything to heart and they finish it, you know, what can they expect to gain, and what's the end result here?
Yeah, what I hear most often is, this is not what I expected. I expected another cookie cutter book with the same old stuff and the other millions of books out there that say basically the same thing. You know, start a budget, live within your means, keep track, et cetera, et cetera. You know, and it's generally how to do goal setting and the like. And I said, okay, that's all fine. That's technical execution, which is critical. And that's what you do. What I wanted to do was give the reader a set of tools to prepare you to talk to you, to have you sit down and have the discussion with yourself, which is, wait a minute, what makes me tick? How do I naturally process information? That's your biology, because you're human. And humans are emotional, and we're going to do emotional things when we make every decision. And money is probably one of the most emotional things I can think of. Then there's an influence with your environment and your belief set, which leaves emotional touch points that influence your decision making. And then your culture. Your culture is freaking huge on how you look at money and spend. But I didn't want to leave it at that, because most financial literacy is more concerned about whether you can reconcile a bank ledger than whether or not you understand what's going on. So I wanted to design a system that says, wait a minute, let's go back to the basics and get you everything you need to know before they go in and talk to you, which is number one, and I call it the money behavior system. It's number one, what are your values? Number two, how do you naturally feel and think about money? Number three, how do you process information? Number four, do you have a strategy? And number five, what's your action plan? Most of us are trained to go right to the action plan, and you're eventually going to figure out that it was a bad bet, or you don't have the temperament for it, or whatever. I just think it's important to learn that up front.
There's no question. You're right. It does bring a unique perspective, and I think it's just as valuable for, you know, clients as it is for advisors to understand the behavioral side of financial planning, because again, the industry has for decades been more product and implementation focused, and really hasn't given the time of day to any sort of behavioral consideration at all.
No, not at all. I mean, you're going to see one of those charts that are floating around forever about buy high, sell low, you know, and you know, meaning that you're emotional when you're in the markets, when you should be selling high and buying low. You know, that's been floating around forever, and you have to do a compliance document that is supposedly talks about your behavior, but that's a legal document to protect you and indemnify the firm. All I'm saying is, why don't we take the basic common sense approach to behavior that we apply to sports, nutrition, diet, career success, relationships, in all of those silos, we accept the fact that you're human and you've got this unique behavior. You're an athlete, I'm an athlete. We know if you're going to be an athlete, you're going to probably perform better if you have a coach, but not any coach, a coach that understands you. your physical capabilities and limitations, but also your mental capabilities and limitations, your behavior.
Right.
I just think it's criminal that in our concept of financial literacy, we ignore this. And it's just not there. So I wanted to write a book that says, wait a minute, before you spend another dollar, before you talk to anybody, why don't you take a few minutes to figure out what makes you tick with money? And I think you're going to be very, very surprised that you're not aligned with the stuff you have. And I'm not saying it's wrong. You can have something that is technically correct, suitable, all the proper things for compliance, but inappropriate to you and your family simply because how you naturally feel and think about money. In other words, you can't live with your investment.
Right. And that right there, I think, is a very eye-opening, getting clients to understand how they are naturally wired to deal with money. And the book itself was released here recently, and it's enjoyed a lot of success. I think you were number 2 on Amazon, only behind the epic novel, the epic tale of Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to be in company with somebody, it might be them. And it kind of stabilized about number 4. And I'll tell you, hopefully a lot of people will see this and go out and get it. This is the perfect book for shut-ins.
Yes.
I mean, this is the perfect
exactly.
book.
The timing couldn't have been better.
Oh yeah.
For something like this. And
I call this a smack in the side of the head book.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I love this delay. Technology is our friend sometimes. This is a smack in the side of the head book. What I mean by that is you read it and it's incredibly simple. It's based on the metaphor of you going on a couple of trips to the mall, and then I sit back as kind of your subconscious, we call it apex. I sit on your shoulder and say, why did you do this? This was stupid. You're crazy to do that. Had you put that into consideration? And then at the end of the book, you have this profile of who you are, and you go, wow, this is common sense. This is who I am. This is how I act. This is why I can't stick to an exercise program. This is why diets are hard. This is why I am terrible with money. But the other piece of it is, there's no dogma in here. There's no one-size-fits-all approach that you have to follow my methodology or you're going to be banished from the island. I don't believe in that. I believe you have to have a program that fits you. You're unique. You're a function of everything that is in your mind, which is your emotions, your beliefs, your values, your behavior. And you've got this incredible brain that is lazy and it's laced with dopamine, what makes you do crazy things with money, but that's who you are. So let's not judge. Let's put in a position to say, okay, I accept you for who you are, the decisions you take, and the way you spend money. Unless you are certified nuts, which is a clinical problem, which I would refuse to deal with, most people aren't. They just don't know. Let's build a program that works for you, not me, for you.
And that right there, I think, is a powerful statement and a great way to wind down our interview here today. And now, if folks watching this want to purchase the book, they can buy it on Amazon. Anywhere else they can buy the book?
It's available in all major retailers, Barnes & Noble, Amazon. I mean, those are the faster ones. Right now, because of we're not quite out of work release yet, it takes a little while. It's Kindle, soft copy, hard copy. I recommend you get a hard copy, something you can write on. This book is designed to be highlighted, to take notes in the margin. It's supposed to be your personal copy. And this is a book you're going to go back numerous times and you're going to use it. And I'm going to give you a tip. If you want to pay for this book in a heartbeat, the next time you go for the mall, you take a copy of my book that is personalized for you with your notes on it, and you just put it on the front seat. I guarantee that will save you the price of the book.
That's and a heck of a lot more too, probably. So, well, this has been great as always. And again, for our viewers, you can find Ted's book on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, etc. So take the time to read it. It's a very easy read, very simple, but very, very relevant and compelling. So, Ted, any parting words of wisdom on this here Friday afternoon?
Well, here's a little advice to the folks in Kurt's profession. I suggest you take the time out to read this book, because if I have my way, there are going to be a lot of consumers looking for you, and they're going to want advice on what I talk about here. And I hope when somebody walks in and goes, "Hey, Kurt, I'd love to work with you. Have you read this book? You do what's here." Because that is my goal, to change the thinking on financial planning and financial literacy, to change the world, to get everybody realizing that success with money is about understanding your money temperament, controlling your behavior, then managing your money.
I love it. Very, very simple, concise process to follow. So, Ted, as always, we've enjoyed it. We thank you for the time, and again, check out Ted's book on Amazon. It's a great read. You'll love it.
Hey, Kurt, thanks for your time.